Hello, everybody, and welcome to the nightly recap of the Wild Wonder Conference Day 1. I'll be doing one of these every day. Thanks to Kate. I don't know why my default setting was on mute, but I'm going to go over everything from today, help you get ready if you're going to watch these in the video pass, or if you're trying to decide if you want to buy the video pass, or if you were attending the live conference and you're marathoning the conference like I am and you want tips or tricks such as chocolate covered almonds to get you going through the conference. So it's day 1, of course, started with a poem from John Muir Laws, and it was this lovely poem by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow called Kind Hearts Are the Gardens, and it was all about kindness. And I think that Jack was trying to set a stage for kindness for this year. For some reason, sometimes when we get together in online groups, we sometimes forget how to be kind to each other, and we say things online that we wouldn't say in person. So I think he really wanted to set the stage for kindness. So let's try to do that. And don't forget, every day there is a challenge from him, and you can win a prize. Tune in tomorrow at it's at 8 a.m. Pacific California time every day to learn what the challenge is for tomorrow. First class was with Sushma Hegde. And if you've been watching my videos before the conference, you would have been very prepared for this class. If you didn't watch my videos and weren't paying attention or didn't have time, you might not have been prepared to make the most out of her class. Her class is definitely one of the classes where having the right supplies is very important. And she did a good job of listing her supplies well in advance, which means like 4 or 5 days in advance when the sched goes up. So when the sched goes up, she listed her materials. And this is a class where it really helps to have actual watercolor brushes like this. If you're using brushes like this and you're just using your multimedia paper, you're not going to have as great of effects with her techniques. A lot of her techniques are very based on brush stroke. So I tried to sketch note some of her brush strokes similarly to I've done in the past. Very useful class. If you don't do this kind of watercolor, I highly recommend it. Um, I highly recommend taking some classes, and this was a theme for me today, is trying to do things that are not your normal style. This was a theme that came out of the conference. It was mentioned in the backstage pass several times, but sometimes it's good for us to try things that are not like our normal nature journaling style, and sometimes that might feel uncomfortable. And so if when you nature journal, you're always looking for something that feels comfortable and feels easy, just remember that for learning, sometimes you have to be a little bit uncomfortable. Great class with her. She always has lots of tips about technique, and I learned a lot. She also said, don't be too hard on yourself. She said, don't be too hard on yourself over 10 times. So I think that was a big takeaway. She also said, practice playing with your brush a lot and don't worry about wasting paper. So if you like her style, she has a lot of great classes. Besides this one, there's even one on the Wild Wonder website that you can buy in addition to the workshop, and also just start looking at some of the specific brushes she uses. If you want to emulate this technique direct to watercolor, or you just want to stretch your skills in nature journaling, would be a great class for you. I really appreciate it. I used to have resistance to those kind of classes, and I would avoid them and think, oh, that's not my style, but I've learned a lot from them recently and forcing myself to do them. The next class was Poetry Comics with Grant Snyder. Super fun class, very well organized. You can see my sketch notes here. I highly recommend this class. It'll be great as a video class as well. If you like poetry and want to get more into comics, or if you like comics and want to be more poetic in your comics, this would be a great class for you. As you can see by the copious quotes, he had lots of good stuff to say, including he said, dang it, I lost it. I wrote that one on a sticky note. He's working on a new book. His new book is about a giant cat that eats children on Christmas morning, children that have been bad. So looking forward to that new kid's book about a giant cat that eats children. He's also a dentist at his day job. So he dropped lots of cool facts. If you missed this class, I would definitely recommend it. It was one of my favorite classes from today. I also experimented with Tombow glue, which is supposed to give you a removable an impermanent adhesion. So I have these. I made one of my comics to be like a way that I could change the order to experiment with different order. And this Tombow glue that I use, it's on my supply list. If you use it one way, it's permanent. If you use it another way, it works as a sticky note. So I can experiment with changing the order of the sensory comic that we did with him. We did a sensory comic, which was really fun. We'll find out if this Tombow glue actually works in this way, but so far so good. We did a sensory comic and we also did a haiku comic, and that's my haiku comic there. Hopefully it's not all backwards for you, but I also posted on my Instagram. That was a very fun class. Let's see if I can find another funny quote from him. He also said, switch it up every once in a while. He was talking about art materials. And like I said, that was one of the themes from today, is sometimes it's good to take classes using an art material or using a journaling tool or a journaling approach that you're not normally attracted to. This touch screen light, if I bump into it with my journal, it turns off, which is very annoying. It's a design problem. So a theme for today: if you don't include a lot of data in your nature journal, or you never work with colored pencils, try taking a class with colored pencils. Try taking a class that's all about data and numbers. Sometimes we need to go outside of what is comfortable for ourselves to actually learn. And there was a couple more classes like that, and I'll get to those soon. But I think after that, it was basically the lunch break. I had to actually start another sketchbook. So I inaugurated a new sketchbook. Maybe it was during Pencil Miles and Chill. Or yeah, it was during Pencil Miles and Chill. So if you can, never miss Pencil Miles and Chill. And this is a good time to point out that tomorrow morning there's an extra early session of Pencil Miles and Chill. So if you're in a time zone that makes it hard to make these middle of the day in California Pencil Miles and Chill, tomorrow get ready to wake up early if you live in California, because there's a Pencil Miles and Chill at 6:45. This might be a good opportunity for you to experiment bringing in dream states into Pencil Miles and Chill if you're still waking up. But for people in Europe or people in Asia and Australia, this might be a better time to have Pencil Miles and Chill. And these green things right here, they say they're, social time or whatever, but these are one of the few, these 5 things right here and the backstage pass, this is one of the few times you actually get to do the con part of conference. Con means coming together. And so instead of just watching one person like me talking right now, you can have a conference. And speaking of con, Ivea is here right now, who is, oh wait, so Susie posted that so fast, it just slipped in there. Ivea is here right now, who is going to be leading Pencil Miles and Chill. And like I said, this is not going to be available on the video pass. If you have the live pass, and you can encourage yourself in some way to wake up early if you live in California. If you live on the East Coast of the US, no problem. If you live in Brazil, no problem. If you live in Europe, probably no problem. Check out Pencil Miles and Chill. You can talk with other people. It's the most together part of the conference. I recommend not missing this part if at all possible. One other tip I'm going to give is you can print out these things, cross them off as you go, or you can cut them out and glue them into your journal. So you can see here that I've glued in Pencil Miles and Chill, and then during Wendy Hollander's class, I glued in the little thing for her class as well. So moving forward, Pencil Miles and Chill, there was a lot of interesting conversations. I bumped around from different groups to hear what different people were talking about. There was a couple things about supplies. I wanted to share that I do have a supply list where I'm trying to, it's probably a bad idea, but I'm trying to keep a complete list of all of the supplies mentioned during the entire conference. And it's on my website here. So if you want to try to find all of the supplies in one place, I'm trying to list them here, including all of the books and stuff like that. Let's see if I can post it on the Instagram too. Some of them are Amazon affiliate links, but some of them are not available on Amazon because they're like cool little random things that people are producing on their own. So I do put links to their websites in those cases, such as Wendy Hollander. Wendy Hollander is an amazing botanical illustrator, and her class was about plant families. It was a little bit complicated in terms of the materials. So this is a class where it would be really helpful if you looked at my materials list before you took the class. So even before the class happened this morning, I was trying to predict what were the supplies that were going to be necessary for the class. Now that the class has happened, I tried to update a lot of the supplies. It is a little bit complicated, but I highly recommend checking it out. You can tell that she is a real maestra in her technique and makes some amazing stuff. It's also an interesting technique, watercolor pencil, very focused on watercolor pencil. And I think one of the key takeaways I can tell from my notes here that this was important is that watercolor is vibrant and good for big washes. Colored pencil is good for control. So if you can combine the two and get the best of both worlds, that is a good place to be. She's also a gardener. She also likes to take flowers apart and press them. That is important for her learning practice. She always draws from life and she uses geometry a lot. So one of the things that was surprising to me in her suggested supply list, and I posted on my supply list, is that she uses one of these templates. It's like a plastic thing. You've probably seen them. It has a protractor on it, and then it has all of these little shapes that you can trace through them. She actually uses one of those quite a bit, and I thought that was a really interesting thing to learn about her technique during her class. The next class was the gesture drawing with brush pins class with Charlotte Belland, and she is like a pretty high-end educator. I think she teaches people that work at like Disney animators and stuff like that. So that is really cool. And she talked about a process that I think this is one of the ones. Okay, so this one I think and the data one, these are the ones that burned the most calories, or you burned the most calories taking these classes. So hopefully you didn't sign off when it started to get a little bit hard. If you did, you can still go back and watch these as videos. And this is one that would be worth going back and watching as videos. And remember, your brain is burning calories. So get your chocolate covered almonds ready because this class on gesture sketching is going to burn a lot of brain calories. And she said even, one of her quotes is, where is it? She said, this is like gym class. So when you do her exercises, it's going to be using your brain. One part that was really surprising to me that I wasn't prepared for, and it made me question a lot of things about how I do fast drawing of birds in the field, is she has a whole step or stage where you just look at the subject matter without starting your drawing. And that was very interesting to me. And I think it's a very good practice for your brain. Anyways, I'm not going to talk more about this, but it was a really good exercise, and each practice it got a shorter amount of time until we were doing 30-second sketches. She says lots of funny stuff during her class, so she makes it fun, but you can tell she's also practiced this a lot, practiced teaching this a lot, so you can get a lot out of it. If you skipped it or if you left the class early because it felt too hard, I recommend getting energized in some way, getting ready, getting prepared, and actually doing this class because it's definitely going to make your sketching a lot better. And then right after that was another class that I think was also very cognitively demanding for a lot of us, and that was Gargi's class. Gargi's class was about data visualization. And if you're like me, you probably have all kinds of nature journal pages. Let's see, all kinds of nature journal pages where you don't, I could go through all kinds of pages in here and there's not enough data visualization. There's a lot of drawings and there's a lot of words. I'm doing a lot of great stuff in my nature journal, but I'm not doing a lot of data visualization. It would be really easy for me to come up with a story about like, oh, I don't like math. Oh, I like the more creative side. Oh, I'm more right brained. It's really easy for me to come up with a story like that, but it might not be in alignment with my intentions around nature journaling. And I think following through on Gargi's class is really going to help you add a lot to your nature journaling and also help you keep an open mind. If anything, the philosophy and the way of thinking, the logical way of thinking that she sets up for us and the steps that she sets up for us in this class are really in alignment with the philosophy of nature journaling and maintaining an open mind. And so many good tips, and she makes it really fun. So similar to the gesture class, make yourself well hydrated and well sugared or caffeinated and take this class if you're going to do it as a recorded version. Looks like we have lots of people here in the comments watching live who agreed and enjoyed these classes or are enjoying the recap. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to Susie, Amy, Sandra. Kate was here earlier. Cindy, maybe there's two Cindy's here. And Kate. Okay, Kate, for pointing out that my sound wasn't working at first. So I highly recommend that class with Gargi. And then the keynote. Okay, so I sketchnote every single keynote and every single class that I attend. And tonight's keynote was by Jennifer Jewell. She has a podcast about gardening called Cultivating Place. She's very passionate about gardening. And when you listen to her speak, what you'll realize is she's really hard to sketchnote because every other sentence she says is a highly quotable sentence. And so I just ran out of space for all of the amazing quotes. So look at I had to do like this double page thing, and it's getting very text intensive because she says so many things like gardeners are powerful agents for the positive. And then she said it's more than a cute hobby. Gardening connects us to everything bigger. And then she says things like, uh, it's easier to garden with the place where you're living than against the place. Gardening is a form of resistance. Resist the war over your attention. A true garden is a relationship built over time. Gardeners are keystone species. Gardens are journals of your life. Oh, come on. I mean, I'm a person who's done a lot of gardening. Gardening, it was more important for me. I was into gardening before I was into nature journaling. And I never thought of the idea that of the metaphor that a garden and a journal are like the same thing. They're showing you over time. They're a relationship. They're a tool for focusing. And her whole keynote was basically had that whole metaphor built into it, which was really cool because Jack's poem this morning and his challenge this morning was to think about metaphors like that. And so her keynote was basically saying that your nature journal or your garden, they're both doing a lot of the same things. They're a lens. They're a lens that helps you focus, and they're a tool that helps you build an emotional connection with nature around you. And so really beautiful, really great keynote. I would watch that as a recorded version. And then afterwards, of course, is the backstage pass with Jack. I'm getting tired at this point. I'm running out of chocolate covered almonds. I'm just going straight into note mode. There was a lot of really interesting conversations, and unfortunately, the backstage pass is not recorded. So if you look at the schedule right here, all of these green things are not recorded. So even if you have to be awake at an uncomfortable time of day, if you can make it possible, I highly recommend trying to get in a little bit of backstage pass or any of these pencil mile sessions. Look at how they're spread out over the day or night to make it possible for everybody. These are not going to be recorded. And so, for example, in the backstage pass today, we had John Muir Laws there, Kate Rudder was there, we had Jennifer Jewell there, the keynote speaker, talking about her experiences. We had a lot of people talking about their experiences. Some of the things that came up were the differences between taking photos versus nature journaling. And that quickly turned into a conversation where we had a little bit of an us they dynamic. And this is something I play into a lot. I call non nature journalers muggles. And that is almost a derogatory term to call somebody. And so, what was really interesting, and this is the benefit of having a community and having multiple brains, is that then Kate Rudder came into the conversation and she pointed out that this is turning a little bit into a conversation of us versus they. And how can we try not to be elitist? It's really easy as a nature journaler or a gardener. And this is something Jennifer Jewell talked about. How can we inspire people through curiosity and positivity instead of negativity? So, if you're the only one in your neighborhood who eliminated your lawn, who has an organic garden, who plants native plants and vegetables, if you just go around telling everyone else, hey, you're spraying poison on your yard, hey, your lawn is bullshit, or whatever, is that going to change them? Or is it easier to like give them some flowers, give them some honey, give them some vegetables? Similarly with nature journaling, how can we spread nature journaling in a way that's not just creating an us versus they dynamic? That's all I have for today. Finished, I don't know, I finished maybe like 8 pages or something. Some amazing classes, learned a lot from all the classes. Be sure to check out my supply list. I've been updating it a lot this year. I'm working really hard this year to keep it updated. Check it out. It does have some Amazon affiliate links, which is not the greatest company or anything like that, but you don't have to use those. I will get a small amount if you shop through some of those links. But the main idea is that this is a resource where you can find all of the supplies from the conference in one place, and a discussion about those supplies. Also, a discussion about what are the basic supplies that will cover you for the entire conference. So I need to tune out now. I have about a 30-minute drive before I can get to bed where I'm going to sleep tonight. But it's a marathon, remember? So save your energy. Tomorrow we gotta get up really early. Thanks for tuning in. Let other people know I'm doing these nightly recaps, and I have that supplies list. So trying to help people navigate the conference. It can be overwhelming. Get some rest, get hydrated, eat some chocolate, and fill lots of notebooks. See you tomorrow. Bye. Bye everyone on YouTube.